Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up tonight, we'll have a roundup of the latest news headlines and all the latest sports news ahead of the weekend. And I'll be reviewing the week's regional papers with my guest David Smith, Chief Executive of Hull and East Yorkshire Mind. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Friday's programme with me, Luke Adams. First tonight, Estuary News caught a first glimpse of Hull's new state-of-the-art music and events venue today. Hull venue will be a new complex that will attract exhibitions, major concerts and stand-up comedy. The venue has been built off the Castle Street junction and is on course to be open next June. It's part of Hull's 10-year city plan, which aims to regenerate the city and create over 7,000 jobs over the next 6 years. Councillor Martin Mancy of Hull City Council says he's impressed with what he's seen so far.
It's the first time I've actually been inside since the building work started, and I have to say it more than meets my expectations. It looks a lot bigger on the inside than it does from the outside. In fact, I think you could say it's a bit like a TARDIS. On top of that, from what we've seen in our tour around here this morning, what really impresses me is the versatility of the building, so that it's not just a 3,500 capacity concert venue.
At the end of the day, this venue has to make money. So the key thing is making sure that we have events on as many days as possible. So the venue can go from 3,500 capacity in concert mode, which is essentially 2,000 standing, 1,500 seated, to 2,500 all-seater venue as either a concert venue for those more sedate events, or as a conference venue for 2.5. Then it can morph to being an 800 venue with 2,000 square metres of accommodation in terms of exhibition, or it could be an 800 seat dining space.
Police would like to speak to the man pictured in these two photos after an elderly woman was robbed in Grimsby. The incident happened at lunchtime on Tuesday when he approached the 85-year-old and spoke to her before stealing her purse from her handbag. It contained cash. The suspect then fled the area. A number of concrete safety blocks have been reinstalled in Hull's Queen Victoria Square today. Hull City Council say they've taken the step as a precaution as the city enters graduation season. They say it's part of a joint approach with Humberside Police as they plan for a permanent solution in the longer term. They had previously been installed earlier this year in the wake of terror attacks in London and Manchester. A Hull school will swap lessons for live music this weekend. It's part of the People of Priory Festival, which has been organised by Priory Primary School. The festival will feature some of the city's favourite bands performing on stage, alongside a number of activities for all the family. Louisa Waldron, teacher at the school, says the children have been an integral part of putting the festival together.
We wanted them to have a key role in organising, so they've met quite frequently. We've formed a junior festival committee and they meet every few weeks or when it's required and discuss different ideas. So they came up with everything that they'd want at a festival, and then we took their ideas and tried to make as much of it happen as we could. They decided on sort of the genres of music that they might like to listen to. They helped sort of plan the actual physically where everybody is, help design the posters, in charge of all the marketing. So we've tried to, wherever possible, to let the children have a really central role in it. And I think all the children within the school feel they've got some ownership of the festival, which is what we wanted.
We've been organising which bands are going to be coming, and we've been doing a lot of sweet making this week for all the sweets. So we've been getting children from the school, they've been sorting out the sweets into the bags.
We've planned fair rides, a bar for the grown-ups, and some ambulances and police cars and fire engines.
5,000 to 7,000 people.
Well, that's how many people we want.
Well, we're really excited because it's just a really big event. You usually have to go to town, it's a really long way away, but we tried to do it in this area so it would help.
And the festival takes place at Priory Primary School on Priory Road from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. tomorrow. A nurse has retired after clocking up over 35 years of service. Maureen Giorgio trained as a student nurse in 1981 and has spent her career working across Scunthorpe and Grimsby hospitals. She qualified in 1984 and became a staff nurse before becoming a ward manager and managing a range of surgical specialities between 1989 and 2001. Last year, she undertook a secondment to the Associate Chief Operating Officer for Surgery and Critical Care. She will take on a new role as Director at Lindsay Lodge Hospice in Scunthorpe. Time to have a look through the week's papers now with my guest David Smith, Chief Executive of Hull and East Yorkshire Mind. Good evening, David. Welcome to the programme. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Good evening, Luke. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. First of all, how's things in the world of Hull Mind on your very busy role?
Yeah, it's been a really good week, actually.
Good.
I think what one of the great things about the job I've got is that no 2 days are ever the same, no 2 weeks are ever the same. And working at Mind, I get to work not only within Mind and the services that Mind are delivering, but also with all the partners in the outside world. So be that other partner providers, the NHS, the local authorities. And this week's been one of those weeks where I've been out and about a lot talking about mental health, good policy, what things should look like.
Fantastic. So is it an exciting time for mental health service provision in this area?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done 25 years working in the voluntary sector and around mental health. And probably for the first 20 of those years, I'd spend my time saying, I wish people would talk about mental health. We need to talk about mental health. Well, people are talking about mental health right now. It's a fantastic time to be able to shape the way some of our services are going to be developed in future, and it's a fantastic time to be at Mind and all the opportunities and all the work that Mind's delivering right now.
Fantastic, David. And as a specialist working in this area, do you think we have got the awareness at a good level now and people are starting to understand and talk about mental health more openly?
Yeah, I think we've come a huge way over the last 10 years. There's been a big campaign that's been funded by government called Time to Change, and that's all been focused on changing people's opinions and knowledge around mental health, really. And they've done some fantastic work, and it's now much easier, I think, to talk about general mental health problems, anxiety, depression. We see some celebrities who have been out and talked about their own issues, whether that be things like bipolar disorder or eating disorders. So I think we've come a huge way in a large number of areas of mental health. I think there's still some work to do at the more severe and enduring end of mental health. So when we're talking about things like psychosis and schizophrenia and suicide, they're still very difficult topics to talk about. There's still a huge amount of stigma attached to some of those labels.
And it is quite an organic process as well, isn't it? And the first story you've picked out this evening, David, has a mental health theme.
It does. I couldn't do the newspapers without showing this one first, because this is fantastic news for the Humberside area. One of the things that we've been missing for a few years now has been an inpatient hospital for children and young people. And because of that, kids have been going all over the country, sometimes hundreds of miles away, to get the specialist care that they need. Mind have been campaigning about this alongside many others, because we know the impact it has, not only on the children themselves, but also their families, their schooling, their friendships, if they're not close to home and they can't maintain those relationships.
And that isolates as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely does. Absolutely does. Now, this story, it's not only great in terms of the care that's going to be available closer to home for children and young people who are mentally unwell, but I think it's also a great story to show the power of local campaigning.
Absolutely.
And it's wonderful to see this lovely picture of Sally Burke and her daughter Maisie in the paper, who have really been the figureheads for this campaign. I think we also, to give credit to the Hull Daily Mail and Alison Coggan, the health reporter at the time in the Hull Daily Mail, who gave the story the publicity and the airtime that it needed. Absolutely did. It got it on the radar, and this is a real testament to people power and the power of campaigning. As a result of this, by the end of next year, we will have a hospital for children and young people in our area.
A fantastic result, which we couldn't wish for anything more, could we?
It's great.
And like you say, well done to all those involved.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Great.
David, what's our second story we have?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the health theme-ish.
Okay.
And the smoking ban. So 10 years, hard to believe 10 years have gone by.
I can't believe it.
So quickly since the smoking ban was introduced. It's interesting because only a couple of years before the ban came in, I was a smoker myself.
Right, okay.
And I'd smoked for many years. And I think, like many others, I was a little sceptical at first about would the smoking ban last? Would we stick to the ban? Would the ban be enforced? And I think on the whole, maybe it's something about the Britishness of us that, you know, when the rules are there, we follow the rules, because I think there have been very few infringements of the smoking ban. And it's totally changed, I think, our expectations, our culture around smoking. From a mental health aspect as well, I think this is going to bring huge benefits in years to come. We certainly know that for people who were living with often severe and enduring mental health conditions, smoking was just expected of them. I mean, in years gone by, some of the old psychiatric institutions, people would be given cigarettes in order to help calm them down. Well, we know the physical health problems that smoking brings, and people with severe and enduring mental health problems often die 20 years earlier as a result of that. But it's not the mental health problems that kill them, it's the physical health problems, and the smoking is a huge contributor towards that. So I think it's a great public health story.
Yeah, and like you say, 10 years on.
I know.
And there has been lots of changes. We've got lots more stories to talk about, David, but I'm just going to wrap it up there for now. That's part one over. So we'll have more stories after this very short break, and Dan will bring us a roundup of all the latest sporting action ahead of the weekend. Welcome back to Estuary News. Still to come this Friday evening, all the latest sports news with Dan. Now, still with me in the studio, David Smith of Hull and East Yorkshire Mind, having a look through the week's papers. David, I've picked out a story here from Monday's Hull Daily Mail. LGBT venues in Hull hope for inclusivity at Pride celebrations. So, as we know, this year marks 50 years since the decriminalisation of homosexuality in the UK. And there's going to be lots of events taking place around the country, of course, but Hull has been nominated the first Pride in Hull city to host a whole flagship series of events. And I think the article here is basically saying along the lines of Hull's leading LGBT venues feel excluded, that they're not one of the preferred options to host a lot of the celebrations. So Fuel is the nightclub there on Baker Street in the city, and they've said that they feel disappointed that they've been left out, along with Savile Row and the Star and Propaganda. So what's your views on that? Do you think?
I mean, I think it's a shame that there are parts of the community that feel that they've been either disenfranchised or not included in the Pride celebrations, because this is a remarkable event, isn't it? And the fact that it's happening in Hull this year, it's going to be Euro Pride in Hull, and marking the 50-year celebrations, to think that only 50 years ago it would have been unlawful to have been a gay man in this country, and that people were still going to prison for that. And that's within living memory of many people, and many older LGBT people now who will have grown up in that kind of environment, and almost that fear of being discovered. And it's hard to imagine just how horrific it must have been back in those days.
And like you say, David, this should be a celebration about how many leaps forward we've made in those 50 years.
Absolutely, yes.
And let's hope that the whole celebrations in Hull help show that.
Yes.
Do you think Hull was granted Pride in Hull because we've got the City of Culture status? Do you think that led a helping hand?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely down to the fact that we're City of Culture this year. We've got all the world's spotlight looking at City of Culture. What a great opportunity to kind of put the spotlight on Pride and Euro Pride this year, and with it being the 50th anniversary as well, the timing is perfect for Hull as a city to showcase its tolerance, its acceptance, and the great LGBT community that's here.
Of Hull, absolutely.
Across Hull, Grimsby, Scunthorpe, Humberside.
It'll be interesting to see then who actually is the successful bidder for this. It says in the article here, several companies applied for tender to take control of the bar in Queen's Gardens on the 22nd of July, with the LGBT Hull venues being unsuccessful in their bids. So watch this space.
Indeed. I don't know who's going to be delivering the bar, but I do know that there are a number of great sponsors for the event, including Hull and East Yorkshire Mind. I'll just get that little plug in there.
Excellent. Well done, David. Great to have your support. Now, I'm very disappointed because in Thursday's Hull Daily Mail, it's reporting on the closing down of the fashion retailer Zara, which is closing after 10 years of business in the St Stephen's shopping centre, and this is part of a wider issue that the rent rises were increased in St Stephen's shopping centre, which is forcing a lot of the businesses, Zara being the first to announce they was leaving, to pack up and leave. So what's your views on that? Is this, rent rises and the decline of the high street, is that having a change in pattern of how we shop and as consumers?
Yeah, I mean,
it's online
I think we've been seeing this for the last few decades, haven't we? I mean, I grew up in Sheffield, and when Meadowhall opened in the 1980s, that created both a huge opportunity in Sheffield, which flourished, but the town centre really struggled to adapt and change. I think our shopping habits are changing rapidly. I mean, I for one, I mean, most of my shopping is now done online. And it's not just about it being cheaper, it's also much more convenient.
I think that's the key, isn't it?
Absolutely is. But at the same time, I like to go into town and have a wander around the shops and have a coffee. We want a little bit of both, but sometimes we're not willing to pay for it. I did love this story, though, because I love the headline here. I know. Of all the things that are happening, it's apocalyptic. And kind of really... That
was according to one shopper who went in the store.
It was.
And felt like it was a bit, as you said, like apocalyptic and felt like a jumble sale. I must admit, I did go in there last Saturday and it was a bit of a jumble sale, but it wasn't too bad. But I'm going to try and go there one more time before it closes down at the weekend.
I could think of a more scary apocalypse than clothes on the floor.
Absolutely, absolutely. A bit of nostalgia now in today's Grimsby Telegraph, Fridays, of course, tributes to the Bags actress who created character in Cleethorpes. I picked this story because I was a fan of the series back in the 90s, 1991 to 1993. But the reason I picked this story is because I didn't know the actress had roots in Cleethorpes. Caroline Scott, who sadly died at the age of 74 after a short battle with cancer, she created grot bags during a summer season in Cleethorpes with Rod Hull of Emu.
New to me, I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
great local story.
Great local story. And she performed many years at Cleethorpes Carnival, which of course isn't going to be going ahead this year. Very quickly, David, your last story. We have about 20 seconds left.
Okay.
A nice one to end with.
This one grabbed me. Fray Bentos Pies. There's a chap in Hull, Sean Gillespie, and he's running Fray Fest, where he and his mates get together and eat their way through Fray Bentos Pies, and he's nailing the souvenirs to the fence. It grabbed him because, as rare as it is that I eat a Fray Bentos pie, that little soggy bit in the bottom, absolutely delicious.
Excellent,
really
David.
Really
what a great way to end.
Fray Fest, it's a place to be next year.
Wonderful. David, thank you very much for being my guest this Friday evening.
Thank you.
Now here's Dan with all the sport.
Hull FC will return to second in Super League tonight if they can beat St Helens. The Black and Whites are boosted by the return to fitness of centre Carlos Tuamavave, who dropped out of last week's squad due to injury. It means Lee Radford has selected an unchanged 19 for the game at Langtree Park. Tonight's opponents are without the influential duo of Matty Smith due to eye injury and John Wilkin through suspension, and Radford says a St Helens reshuffle should boost the Black and Whites' chances.
I think it's maybe a bit of a double blow because John would have naturally gone into the halves as replacement for Matty. So, whether they put Lomax there or Richardson, we'll have to wait and see an hour before kick-off. They've obviously the straps, since Justin's coming back in, playing slightly different, same group. Hopefully they're not as hot as they was last time out they played against us. But we know we'll have to play well, obviously, to go there and get a result.
Across the city, Hull Kingston Rovers head coach Tim Sheens has made one change to his 19-man squad for Sunday's game away to Bradford. Will Oakes comes in for the injured Andrew Heffernan. KR go into the game still top of the championship table, 7 points clear of nearest challengers London, and can make it a fifth consecutive victory in the league should they beat the Bulls on Sunday. That one kicks off at 3 o'clock. Football now, and Scunthorpe United and Grimsby Town have been drawn together in the same group for this season's Checkatrade Trophy. They have been put in Group H alongside Doncaster Rovers and a Category 1 side who are yet to be announced. Our local sides could face the under-21 sides put out by the likes of Premier League Manchester City or Everton. The Category 1 sides will be integrated into the groups next week, and we'll bring you news of that when we get it. Scunthorpe kick off their pre-season tomorrow when they travel to North Ferriby United. New summer signings Cameron Burgess, Matt Gilks and Rory McArdle are set to be given their first run-outs for the club. However, Luke Williams and Dwayne Holmes are likely to miss out with injuries. That one kicks off at 3 o'clock, and the Villagers are expected to use a number of trialists as Steve Howsham continues to assess his options for next season in that game. Grimsby Town made it 2 wins out of 2 in pre-season last night. They beat Grimsby Borough by 11 goals to 3. Scott Vernon bagged a hat-trick, while braces from Sam Jones and trialist Harry Cardwell helped the Mariners on their way to the impressive rout. Russell Slade's men head to Stamford Town on Tuesday evening to play in the Lincolnshire Senior Cup. That's their next game. Meanwhile, reported Town target Nicky Maynard is on the move today. The former Bristol City and Cardiff striker hasn't joined the Mariners though. He's signed for SPL club Aberdeen. And finally, Hull City head coach Leonid Slutsky says he believes the core of his squad are better than any other in the Championship. He says he thinks it's important to retain a base of English and British players to build upon for the coming season.
It's really very difficult tournament, very tough, and in this situation I spoke about with very important leaders and players who has experienced Championship, like Mailer, Mason, Huddlestone, Dawson, Glucas, and I think really our core may be the most serious core from each team of Championship.
And that's all for the sport.
Thanks very much, Dan. That's just about it for tonight. Many thanks to my guest David Smith for reviewing the week's papers with me. A pleasure as always. On Monday's programme, Chris Gruker joins me on the sofa to tell me about a Hull hero and 2017 facts about Hull with Jim Orwin. As always, if you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages or email news@Estuary TV. You can also find our news desk, which is a Grimsby number 01472315553. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. From all of us on the team, good evening.